this really starts to cut down everything that has made the SOC a really sore place to be for the last couple of decades.
What's up guys, Britt here from Torq, and welcome to the AMP Sessions video series, episode 1, season 1. Bob, tell us what the people are in for.
We are super excited about the AMP sessions. What we're doing is we're taking some of Torq's top partners who we have worked with within our customer base to build cool solutions that help security teams achieve the autonomous SOC faster, better, and stronger. We're going to be walking through our Better Together story today with one of our premier AMP partners, Intezer, to show how our agentic to agentic communication works and helps customers achieve that autonomous SOC.
So Mitchem Boles, Field CISO at Intezer, is joining us today. Mitchem, are you amped?
I am. Absolutely a pleasure to be here. So glad to be on.
All right, let's dive right in. So both Torq and Intezer have been pushing the boundaries of what it means to build an autonomous SOC, one that can handle massive alert volume, triage threats, and remediate attacks at machine speed. So Mitchem, I'm going to start with you. What does the idea of the autonomous SOC mean to Intezer?
Even the title is interesting because there's so much marketing language around what is autonomous, what is an AI SOC, what is a SOC that works at all. And I think that's a big question that we hear from a lot of different organizations. And I've been running SOCs since the very beginning of my career, and I've seen the same pain points exist. And it's you can't get to enough of the alerts, you can't triage all of the alerts. In fact, that's an issue even with a lot of services companies that have a lot of analysts. And so if they can't do it, how do we get to the point where we have an outcome of security is actually being done for all the alerts that are coming in? And so from Intezer's perspective, there is a wide range of what all the opportunities and tasks that a SOC takes on, all the way from detections and detection engineering to the triage and analysis and getting verdicts, and then actually doing something with those verdicts. Because if you can't do anything with them, obviously you're not getting anywhere fast. And so what we want to do is be able to have accurate results, be able to do it very quickly, and do it at a scale that anyone can do, including Fortune 1 all the way down for everyone else.
So Mitchem, Intezer is known for forensic grade analysis and triage. So how does Intezer's AI agents decide which alerts matter?
Intezer has a heritage of tools that were there to help analysts and make analysts' lives easier, faster, better. And so taking that into account is where really the accuracy outcomes come from. I mean, those are very hard tools to build. And so what we've seen is this idea, just as Bob was mentioning, emulating a SOC analyst, but the top tier premier SOC analyst, and being able to provide a whole bunch of investigation steps, and the way that a lot of agentic approaches are to create understanding of, okay, which tool should I actually use right now to understand this alert, to understand the components of this alert? How should I look through questions? How should I get the triage and detection steps that have come through and check it? Not even if it's been mitigated, we are still going to look at it. That's a critical capability that we've seen today. And so that's a big part of where agentic starts. It means a lot to a lot of different people. We really see the agent-specific use cases being very valid for how each triage is done, depending on the actual alert that comes through. And then the agentic part is where we start getting into some really unique and really start to burn down the path of autonomous.
So Bob, I want to go to you for this one. How does it work? So once Intezer's AI agents escalate an alert, how does Torq's agentic AI step in and collaborate?
Yeah, and I love what Mitchem just said, right? Emulating top tier analysts with agentic AI, and Intezer has some top tier triage and investigation analysts that then kick it over to Socrates, our top tier AI agentic SOC analyst that's built directly into Torq HyperSOC. So when Intezer sends us over that fully triage and investigated alert, that's where Socrates takes the handoff and coordinates the autonomous planning, reasoning, and execution when it comes to the complete case management lifecycle. So when we get that alert, we create a comprehensive case. that has all of the relevant observables, IOCs, and case data that a human analyst would need to remediate that case. And then we take those actions, those remediation recommendations that Intezer is sending over, and allow Socrates to take that action step by step for complete autonomous remediation from detection all the way through response.
Yeah, so through this agent-to-agent collaboration, Torq and Intezer are covering the full life cycle of an alert, from detection through remediation, completely autonomously. So Mitchem, I'm going to go back to you for this one. How do you see this partnership changing the security landscape and the future of agentic AI SOC solutions?
Everyone is looking for speed out of their SOC to get better, to get faster, but we're talking about also removing the analyst burnout, helping them actually enjoy the job by not sifting through the haystack to find the needles, being able to actually lift up all the relevant information to actually make a verdict, and then only have those human analysts, look at the most important and frankly the most intriguing types of information and data points, but also being able to automate and really create this accurate and fast capability to respond, to remediate, to get those things out of the way that really are not providing the same level of value as what the human is and able to do. And so this really starts to cut down and cut into everything that has made the SOC a really sore place to be for the last, couple of decades, it feels like. And now we're moving into this whole new future where we're actually getting to the outcomes that have been promised before, that we've seen other technologies try to promise. This really gets us there, because this is the way to do it at scale and combine the human capabilities, which are really contextually aware of different organizations, but be able to have the outcomes with the speed and autonomy that comes with it. It's super exciting.
Last but not least, Bob, what does this partnership mean for our joint customers?
Great question, Britt. And I think Mitchem's really focusing on three words that really encapsulate what this means for our joint customers, right? Speed, accuracy, and scale. So within our customer base, right, Intezer on average is escalating 4% of alerts in as little as 2 minutes with a 97.6% accuracy. Then on the Torq side, customers are experiencing a 90% decrease in manual security case investigation and a 3 to 5 times increase in alert handling capacity without adding additional headcount to their teams. And together, Intezer and Torq are autonomously remediating over 95% of tier 1 and tier 2 cases completely through the entire case management lifecycle. And that's going to give our customers that time back that Mitchem is talking about, right? To strategically think about security practices and be happier in their roles, right? Focusing on the security initiatives that our analysts and the folks in the security profession have really joined this world to focus in on.
I think it's time to see this in action. So I'm going to toss it on over to Mitchem. Mitchem, can you show us, what this looks like from Intezer's point of view?
I absolutely can. Super excited to show this off. And so I thought maybe what I would do first is show a dashboard of really what it looks like. This is a live customer environment. Not all of us have almost 100,000 endpoints in our organizations, but I thought that I would show this to show, really what are the ingested alerts? What does the average investigation time? In fact, for this, just for the past week, has been around 43 seconds for that many alerts, which is crazy. The idea is that the escalation to the different the human analysts, has only been 420 of those, 1.3%. Such a human scalable actual response capability that those human analysts can do. There are certainly cases and things that could be tuned to detections and other items, but those are just follow-ups for another point in time. This gives them, the analyst, time back to go look at these for detections and everything else. And then the action that was not even needed was 80% of those alerts. And you can see that we take in a ton of different sources. We have a lot of integrations that we take from any cybersecurity alerting source and security tooling that really a SOC analyst would need to look at. And we have bilateral communication, and really it's just an incredible idea of how the triage works. And as I go forward a little bit more, I'll actually jump into and dive into the actual Torq specific events so we can look at that so your environment becomes what we want to see. And so now as we jump into the actual incident, and the Torq environment is definitely quite malicious, so we'll need to do some work on that. But excitingly, we can jump into a threat that we have looked at and escalated and found. And this is a multi-part item that we're going to look at. So this is an example through CrowdStrike. What you'll see is that the idea is that this is an exploit kit. It is a confirmed threat. However, it was not mitigated by CrowdStrike. And so this happened all within 48 seconds that we did all the triage that I'll show here in just a second. And the recommended actions that this can be looked at from an analyst is, okay, we need to isolate, we need to kill and lock the user, or request that the password be reset, or go ahead and do that reset on its own. These are multiple steps that would have to be taken by an analyst, and how nice would it be to be able to automate those components. And so when we look at it, the triage breakdown, the idea that Intezer is doing all of this and within under a minute is really crazy. We bring it in, we ask different triage questions. This is a look into how the agentic components work and how this agent is asking different questions. Has this ever been an unusual process in the past? Are there any URLs that are suspicious? And we see that both of those are yes. And then as we start to scroll down, we start to really get into the real weeds of where triage starts to go. And so the files alone, hey, what is this? The who am I host name. Some of these look okay, but some of these are actually not on the disk. So that means they're running in memory. This is a critical piece. And so we actually need to see what else is running in memory that was or was not mitigated. In this case, nothing was mitigated. And then we start getting into the correlations of network artifacts and what IP addresses are known and the processes. And although some of these look like PowerShell running as they should, what we found is that they are actually likely malicious because of how many alerts are associated with this, the processes, and other capabilities. We don't have to dive too much into the weeds about this, but all of this is being done. This is what an analyst would have to spend at least 30 minutes to a couple of hours going and searching each different item in to figure out, what should I do next? Is this malicious? Is it not? And one of the biggest pieces is the genetic code analysis that Intezer has multiple patents on to be able to pull out what is actually malicious and not. And so once we have all of this information, we can even give them more information, but we want to go ahead and send it over. And Bob, I think it would be great for you to show that, what it looks like coming into the Torq to Socrates and really being able to take it from there.
All right, so we're going to start off right in the Torq workflow that is getting triggered by Intezer, right? Now, Mitchem already explained this is a CrowdStrike alert, but Intezer has done that autonomous triage. They've looked at all the IOCs, they've looked at all the case information here, and they're sending that entire packet over to Torq. Now, what we're going to do first and foremost is create a case in Torq HyperSOC. So you can see here, this is our field mapper, and we have field mappers built out for all of our integration partners to make sure that when a Torq case is created, we have all of that relevant information speaking the same language that our friends at Intezer are speaking within their platform. So all that data is right there ready to go. Now, the next step here, as we continue within this workflow, is we're going to loop over those IOCs, right? Intezer's already triaged and investigated those IOCs for us. So we're going to do a quick loop. We're going to maybe reach out to VirusTotal and check the IP address, the domain name, the file hash, and URL to enrich that case with a little bit more information on our end. And then we'll send that right over to the case, update some of those observables. So when an analyst does see this case, or they are assigned this case within Torq HyperSOC, they've got all that information right at their fingertips. And then we follow along here, and this is where it gets really interesting, right? We're talking about agent-to-agent communication. Intezer's AI communicating with Torq's AI SOC analyst, Socrates. You can see here, Mitchem highlighted those recommended remediation actions right at the end of that Intezer demo. We're going to loop over those actions, and what we're essentially doing is, first and foremost, creating some quick action buttons. So maybe Intezer is saying we want to isolate this machine, or we want to quarantine this specific file. We're going to loop over those recommendations, find the appropriate tools within Torq's integrations so that we can go in and with one click of a button, isolate a device or quarantine a file using, if it's an IAM tool, something like Okta, or in this case, an endpoint solution like CrowdStrike, right? So we'll build those directly into that Torq case within HyperSOC. And then this is where the agentic reasoning and planning comes into play. We're taking those remediation actions and we are going to build a remediation runbook that our AI SOC analyst is going to be able to follow step by step to autonomously remediate this threat. So let's pop over to case management and take a look at what this case actually looks like. So we pop over here. Here's that exploit kit case that we just saw within the Intezer environment. If you pop open the case within Torq, right off the bat, you can already see an agentic AI case summary is being generated. So we know what happened, when it happened, the potential impact, and any key indicators that we want to keep top of mind. You can see that description here, all of that data that we pulled directly from Intezer, all of that automatic triage and investigation that they've done, all of that data is pulled directly into the Torq case here. And you can see the full list of observables, everything associated with this incident, whether it's unknown, safe, or if we scroll down here, you can see that probably malicious IP address. You can even click into the enrichment and see some of that threat enrichment that Torq has done in partnership with Intezer, right? Now, we talked a little bit about those quick action buttons, right? Being able to take remediation action with the click of a button. You can see those right over here. The IAM tool, maybe that's reaching out to Okta to lock users or revoke sessions and reset a password. Or that endpoint tool, right? Where we're reaching out to CrowdStrike to scan a device, quarantine files. And with the click of a button, we're quarantining that file so that nothing else can execute within this device. Now that's if an analyst was assigned this case, but Mitchem, we're here to talk about autonomous remediation. So let's talk about how we're going to autonomously remediate this threat using Torq Socrates. We talked a little bit about those remediation recommendations that Intezer spun up after the automatic triage and how we created a runbook for Socrates to follow. Now, this is a very simple runbook, right? We're going to isolate the machine, lock the user, and then run an endpoint scan. All we need to do now is assign this case to Socrates and let Socrates follow these actions step by step within the environment, reaching out to hyper-automated workflows to take action within this critical threat. So you can see here, Socrates has already started to build out that plan. Step 1, isolate machine. Step 2, lock the user account. Step 3, run that endpoint scan. So we're executing these step by step. Socrates has gone in, reached out to a hyper-automated workflow to isolate that endpoint so that we can contain that threat so it's not spreading vertically or laterally throughout our environment. And then we're going to move on to step 2 and lock that user account to reset the password. So execution of step 2 is happening right now. And then finally, now that we've got this threat contained, we know that this threat can't spread within our environment. We're going to run an endpoint scan. Mitchem talked about, hey, maybe something is still running in memory or living in memory. We're going to scan that endpoint and look out for any persistence of this incident, of this threat within our environment, so that we know that it cannot continue within the environment itself. Once that's done, Socrates will give us a little bit of a conclusion. Hey, here's the state of the case. Here's where we've left it. And what I can do as the analyst, or we can set this up to run autonomously, is say, go ahead and close this case. And then Socrates is going to go ahead, wrap up this case for us so that we know that the incident has been completely remediated end to end. So as you can see here, Socrates is going to add some resolution details, the resolution reason, and this case has been completed and closed, so we know that our environment has been completely protected.
All right, guys, you can check out Torq AMP sessions to see who we're going to be having on next, and we will see you in the next episode.